Have you ever wondered if the trees around you are talking? Right beneath your feet, in a language you cannot hear? Imagine the forest as a hidden city, alive with whispers, pulses, and unseen connections. Tonight, we'll step quietly into this secret world, where roots and fungi carry messages like letters through the soil. Take a slow breath, let your shoulders relax, and notice the faint sounds around you. The rustle of leaves, the soft whisper of wind, the steady heartbeat of the earth beneath you. If you're watching from somewhere quiet tonight, perhaps your living room, a cozy bedroom, or under a starlit sky, leave a comment below to share where you are. And if you love wandering into the hidden wonders of nature, subscribe to The Thoughtful Night so we can explore these mysteries together. The forest above may look still, with sunlight dappling through leaves, birds calling in distant branches, and shadows slowly stretching across the moss. But beneath the surface, a network hums with life. Roots twist and tangle, fungi stretch invisible threads through the soil, and the trees themselves are alive in ways we are only beginning to understand. Imagine a mother tree, her roots reaching out, gently nourishing the seedlings nearby, or an old oak sending a quiet warning when insects arrive. Picture the forest as a city of silent couriers, messages traveling through the earth, shaping life in ways both subtle and profound. And as we begin this journey, let your mind slow, your senses open, and your curiosity wander. Tonight, we will listen to the language of roots, the symphony of soil, and the quiet wisdom that only a forest can teach. We will discover how trees share resources, send warnings, nurture their young, and even cooperate and compete, all beneath the forest floor. And we will do so gently, slowly, allowing the forest's rhythm to guide our breath, our thoughts, and the soft unfolding of your imagination. Step carefully, but feel free to let your mind drift. Visualize the damp soil between your fingers, the soft hum of life traveling through every root, every fungal thread, every hidden pathway connecting one tree to another. This is the underground world of communication, care, and quiet intelligence, a place where time slows and wonder grows. Tonight, as we journey together, let us remember that these trees have stories older than our lifetimes. They are storytellers without voices, poets without pens, carrying the memory of storms survived, seasons passed, and life shared. And perhaps, as you close your eyes later, you will carry a little of their quiet wisdom with you, feeling the subtle pulse of the earth beneath your own feet. So, let us begin this exploration, softly, gently, allowing the forest to reveal its secrets one whisper at a time. With each word, each breath, may you feel the calm, the wonder, and the quiet magic of a world beneath our own, unseen yet deeply alive. There is a quiet majesty in the forest that often goes unnoticed. Sunlight filters softly through the canopy, dusting leaves in amber and green, and the wind moves through the branches with a gentle sigh. From a distance, the trees might appear static, as if frozen in time, yet each one is alive, sensing, breathing, and responding to the world around it. Their presence is patient, deliberate, and profound, a quiet intelligence woven into the very fabric of life. Consider the towering oak with its sprawling branches, or the slender birch bending gracefully in the breeze. Beneath their bark and leaves lies an intricate web of activity. Roots stretch silently into the earth, probing for water and nutrients, twisting around rocks and one another in search of sustenance. This underground labyrinth is the hidden heartbeat of the tree, a complex system that senses pressure, moisture, and even the proximity of other plants. Through this network, a tree interprets the world, adjusting growth, shedding leaves, or extending branches to capture more light. Leaves themselves are delicate instruments of awareness. They respond to sunlight, opening and closing in rhythms dictated by the sun's journey across the sky. They can detect shade and modify their orientation to maximize photosynthesis, quietly optimizing their own energy production. In this way, a tree is both observer and responder, attuned to subtle shifts in temperature, humidity, and light. Even the smallest sapling participates in this sophisticated dance, learning from its surroundings and adapting to survive. Roots, often hidden beneath soil, tell a different story. They are exploratory and sensitive, feeling changes in the earth, detecting moisture gradients, and avoiding obstacles. Some roots even communicate chemically, releasing signals to influence nearby plants or ward off potential threats. They are alive in ways that humans seldom perceive, acting with intention and coordination. Each root is like a vein in a living organism, carrying not only water and nutrients but also a stream of information about the environment. As the forest breathes, you can imagine it as a living network, each tree a node connected by invisible threads of awareness. The interplay of sunlight, wind, soil, and rain creates a rhythm, a subtle pulse that guides growth and survival. Trees respond to storms by stiffening branches or shedding weaker limbs. They adjust to drought by slowing growth or redirecting resources to essential roots. These responses are not random. They are the result of a continuous conversation between tree and environment, a dialogue that is patient, slow, and enduring. Trees also sense each other. When a neighboring tree leans too close, roots may shift to avoid competition. If a plant nearby is under attack by pests, subtle chemical signals can prime other trees for defense. Even at a distance, some species detect the presence of others through changes in soil chemistry or light reflection. The forest is alive with these interactions, subtle yet constant, a network of living awareness extending in all directions. The forest floor itself seems to breathe with this quiet sentience. Mosses and ferns respond to moisture and light, creating microhabitats that further influence how trees interact. Fallen leaves decompose and enrich the soil, supporting life beneath and above. Every layer of the forest contributes to this living symphony, from the tallest canopy to the tiniest seedling. Each organism plays its role, responding, adapting, and connecting to a larger, invisible whole. Imagine walking through such a forest, feeling the gentle sway of branches overhead, noticing the soft carpet of moss beneath your feet. You may not hear a word, but the trees are communicating in ways that transcend human language. Their signals are chemical, electrical, and mechanical, carried through roots, soil, and symbiotic fungi. Every gust of wind and shift in sunlight becomes part of the dialogue, and the forest responds as one living entity, quietly aware of each change. Even in silence, there is intelligence. Even in stillness, there is response. The forest teaches patience, observation, and attentiveness. To truly perceive it, one must slow down, notice the small movements, and recognize the hidden pulses that keep life flowing. Each tree is not an isolated organism but a participant in a larger, interconnected world, responding with intention and awareness. And beneath their feet, an entire secret world waits, a network humming quietly. Here, roots touch and intertwine with fungal threads, chemical signals travel unseen, and trees continue their subtle conversations far from human eyes. The forest's whispers descend into darkness, carrying messages of survival, growth, and connection, laying the foundation for a communication system more intricate than most of us ever imagine. Beneath the quiet forest floor lies a network more intricate than any human-made connection. If roots are the veins of the trees, then fungi are the threads that weave them together into a living tapestry. These threads stretch in every direction, invisible to the eye yet pulsing with purpose, carrying nutrients, water, and even messages from one tree to another. This underground web is sometimes called the wood wide web, a poetic name for a system that allows trees to communicate, share, and even care for each other. At the heart of this network are mycorrhizal fungi, partners in a silent alliance with trees. These fungi wrap themselves around or inside roots, forming symbiotic relationships that benefit both organisms. The tree provides sugar, produced through photosynthesis, nourishing the fungi. In return, the fungi extend far beyond the reach of the roots, delivering water, minerals, and chemical signals to their hosts. It is a partnership of elegance and precision, built over millions of years, and one that underlines the deep intelligence of the forest. Through these fungal highways, trees can send more than just sustenance. They can share warnings, signaling the presence of pests or drought conditions. When one tree is under attack, the fungi can transmit chemical cues to neighbors, prompting them to strengthen their defenses or slow growth until danger passes. Experiments have shown that seedlings connected to these networks survive better than those isolated from them, demonstrating that the web is not merely physical. It is a conduit for information and care. Visualize a sprawling network of roots and fungal threads beneath the soil, a silent mail system in which letters are sent in the form of sugars, nutrients, and chemical whispers. When an older tree senses a threat, it can prioritize resource allocation, sending vital sustenance to vulnerable seedlings, or alerting nearby trees to brace for stress. In this way, the forest is less a collection of individual trees and more a cooperative community, where survival is shared and communication is constant. Fungi also have their own subtle strategies, forming selective partnerships with specific tree species. Some fungi specialize in connecting oaks to maples, pines to birches, creating an intricate map of life that spans entire ecosystems. Each connection is a living bridge, allowing energy and information to flow along paths that humans cannot see. Through this invisible network, trees that appear isolated above ground are in fact participants in a vast, interconnected society below. Experiments in controlled forests have revealed astonishing behaviors. When a tree is wounded or stressed, fungal networks can transfer carbon to nearby neighbors, sometimes over considerable distances. In one study, a maple tree suffering from damage shared sugars with a nearby beech, and in return, the beech sent chemical signals that primed the maple's defenses. Such exchanges suggest that trees are not just passive organisms but active participants in a complex communication network, capable of cooperation, anticipation, and perhaps even choice. The poetry of this underground network is reflected in its resilience. During drought, older trees can prioritize water delivery to seedlings through the fungi, ensuring the next generation survives. In times of disease, chemical messages move swiftly, warning others to bolster defenses. It is a system that balances competition with collaboration, vulnerability with protection. The forest is alive in ways we often overlook, its intelligence subtle but profound. Even the tiniest seedlings are participants. A young sapling may appear fragile, yet through fungal connections, it can draw on the strength of its neighbors, guided and supported by an older tree's experience. The network becomes a mentor, a teacher, and a shield. In this light, the forest is less a battlefield and more a classroom, where lessons of survival, resilience, and interconnectedness are silently taught and absorbed by every living organism. Metaphorically, one could imagine trees sending letters across the soil, sealed with sugars and signed with chemical cues. Each message travels along the fungal threads, reaching distant recipients, shaping growth, defense, and life itself. There is no rush, no clamor. Everything moves in slow, deliberate rhythms, in harmony with seasons, soil, and the subtle pulse of the ecosystem. And yet, in this quiet pace lies extraordinary complexity, a communication system that rivals anything humanity has engineered. This network is not only a marvel of biological engineering but also a reminder of nature's elegance. It challenges our notions of individuality and survival, suggesting that life is rarely solitary and that connection is a form of intelligence. By watching how trees and fungi communicate, we glimpse a different way of being, one that values patience, cooperation, and attentiveness. Each thread, each root, each chemical signal is a story, a conversation, and a lifeline. But communication is more than nutrients. It is stories, warnings, and care. The wood wide web carries the forest's history, experiences, and wisdom. It teaches the importance of connection, the value of shared survival, and the subtle power of silent communication. And as we begin to understand its language, we are invited to listen, not with our ears, but with our awareness, attuning to the pulses beneath our feet, and the whispers that traverse the dark, damp soil. Beneath the forest floor, an invisible conversation unfolds. Roots and fungi may carry the forest's letters, but it is in the soil itself that the subtler messages are written. Here, chemical signals flow, electric currents pulse, and whispers travel through the very earth. Each tree is a participant, each root a messenger, every molecule a word in a silent, complex language that has existed far longer than humans have walked these woods. When a tree experiences stress, whether from insects, drought, or mechanical damage, it does not suffer alone. Chemical compounds, released into the surrounding soil, travel to neighboring roots, carrying warnings or requests for aid. These molecules, volatile organic compounds, and specialized plant hormones, serve as nature's telegrams. Nearby trees can detect these signals, adjusting their own growth, activating defensive chemicals, or diverting energy to fortify vulnerable tissues. In this way, a single stressed tree can ripple its experience across the soil, alerting the forest community to dangers unseen above ground. Imagine the forest as a gathering of old friends, each tree attentive to the subtleties of the other. A chemical pulse is like a whisper across a quiet room, and those who listen respond with care. A young sapling might strengthen its bark, slow its growth, or even adjust the orientation of its leaves in response. Older trees might allocate nutrients differently, ensuring that no individual suffers unnecessarily. These signals are often slow, measured, deliberate, moving along gradients of water, soil chemistry, and the tangled root fungal pathways. Yet even at a deliberate pace, they allow life to adapt, survive, and thrive collectively. Electrical impulses accompany these chemical signals. Research has shown that trees generate bioelectric currents along their roots, moving at speeds that surpass the diffusion of chemicals. These currents can communicate sudden changes in the environment, such as a pest invasion or physical injury, alerting other parts of the same tree or neighboring trees to respond. In essence, the forest pulses like a living organism, each signal a heartbeat, each response a synchronized movement within a vast, underground symphony. Even the tiniest roots participate in this dialogue. A young root tip growing through soil senses chemical cues left behind by other plants. It avoids areas saturated with competitive signals or dangerous compounds and gravitates toward those rich in nutrients and beneficial molecules. Roots can exude substances that inhibit competitors or encourage symbiotic partners, subtly shaping the community around them. In this way, communication in the soil is not one-directional. It is an ongoing negotiation, a dynamic conversation between neighbors, allies, and even unseen microbial partners. Soil is more than just a medium. It is a living conduit for life's messages. Microbes, fungi, and invertebrates all respond to chemical cues, amplifying or relaying signals across greater distances. This complex network of interactions allows the forest to operate as a highly coordinated system, where every organism plays a role in sensing, transmitting, and responding to environmental change. The forest becomes a web of information, richer and more intricate than any single tree could manage alone. When drought strikes, trees release compounds into the soil that signal water scarcity, prompting neighbors to conserve moisture and adjust growth patterns. When an herbivore chews leaves, chemical warnings prime nearby trees to produce defensive compounds such as tannins or alkaloids. In some cases, trees even release distress signals that attract predatory insects to feed on the herbivores. Every message is functional, elegant, and purposeful, showing the forest's ability to respond to threats collectively and efficiently. Metaphorically, one might imagine each root as a pen, writing notes in invisible ink upon the soil. Chemical signals drift through this medium, carried by water, absorbed by fungi, and intercepted by neighboring trees. Electrical currents hum beneath the surface, like a secret Morse code only the forest understands. Every pulse and compound contributes to an ongoing narrative of life, survival, and interdependence. In this language, cooperation and competition coexist, shaping how energy and resources flow through the ecosystem. Consider the idea that the soil itself remembers past events, a fire, a flood, a disease outbreak, leave traces in chemical composition and microbial populations. Trees growing in that soil can detect these legacies, adapting their growth and defenses accordingly. The forest carries memory not in brains or neurons, but in chemistry, electrical signaling, and the persistent hum of its underground networks. Each generation of trees inherits not just physical space but an accumulated awareness of the past, encoded in the messages carried beneath the surface. As we imagine this, the forest becomes less a collection of isolated organisms and more a dynamic, responsive system. Individual trees are aware, attentive, and capable of adaptation, yet they also participate in something larger. A network of communication that maintains balance, protects vulnerable members, and ensures continuity. This system is not chaotic. It is rhythmic, measured, and purposeful, like the quiet heartbeat of the earth itself. And sometimes, these whispers travel faster than we could imagine. Chemical compounds drift through water films, electrical signals shoot along root pathways, and fungi transmit nutrients and cues across surprising distances. A tree that senses danger on one side of a grove can influence saplings meters away, preparing them for challenges before they arrive. The forest is alive with anticipation, memory, and care, a network of messages that moves below our perception, yet shapes the life above with precision and grace. In this soil, life is connected in profound ways. The forest speaks in chemicals, hums in electrical currents, and listens in the subtle responses of roots and neighbors. Every stress, every signal, every pulse contributes to a larger understanding, a shared intelligence that allows life to endure, adapt, and flourish. Step into a quiet grove and close your eyes for a moment. The forest may seem calm, motionless even, yet beneath that serene surface lies a remarkable intelligence. Not the kind that thinks in words or numbers, but an intelligence born from connections, patience, and memory. Each tree participates, each root responds, and together, they form a living network that senses, remembers, and adapts. The forest behaves as more than a collection of individual trees. It moves, survives, and responds as if it were a single organism. Scientists sometimes describe this as the forest's superorganism quality. Trees are linked through roots, fungal networks, and chemical signals, exchanging information about threats, resources, and growth opportunities. When a fire sweeps through a region, the survivors adjust more quickly than isolated saplings might. When drought affects one part of the forest, chemical and electrical signals ripple outward, prompting distant trees to conserve water, alter growth, or release protective compounds. It is a memory written in molecules, pulses, and shared survival strategies, and it spans generations. Consider an ancient forest where towering trees rise like cathedral pillars. Their roots weave through centuries of soil, entwining with fungal partners and younger saplings. The old trees act as repositories of knowledge, passing along resilience in the form of nutrients, chemical signals, and protective cues. Through these connections, the forest retains an awareness of past disturbances, storms, fires, insect outbreaks, and prepares its inhabitants for challenges yet to come. Memory is not stored in neurons, but in the interactions between roots, soil, fungi, and tree tissues. Each response builds upon another, forming a web of intelligence more distributed than any brain, yet remarkably effective. The wisdom of a forest is subtle, often imperceptible to human senses. A sapling may bend its roots toward nutrient-rich soil that older neighbors have prepared. A mature tree may delay flowering until conditions are favorable, guided by chemical feedback from surrounding trees. Trees do not act in isolation. Every decision, every adaptation is influenced by a network of signals that stretches beyond the visible forest. There is patience in this intelligence, a sense of timing and proportion that is difficult to measure but easy to sense when walking among the living giants. This intelligence is both collective and emergent. It arises not from a single tree's perception but from countless interactions between roots, fungi, leaves, and chemical signals. Even small changes, a damaged branch, a pest outbreak, a shift in soil nutrients, trigger responses across the system. The forest does not merely react. It anticipates. Patterns of communication allow trees to prepare for stress before it becomes critical, demonstrating a form of foresight rooted in experience. In this way, the forest remembers, learns, and adapts collectively. Poetically, one might imagine the forest as a library, each tree a volume filled with stories of seasons past, hardships endured, and strategies perfected. Roots and fungi are the librarians, carrying knowledge through subterranean corridors, sharing lessons with saplings, and preserving wisdom in the soil. This memory is not static. It evolves, grows, and responds to the environment. The forest is patient, waiting for conditions to change, adjusting silently, yet decisively, to ensure survival. Humans are drawn to this intelligence, captivated by the idea that a forest can be aware, connected, and wise. Perhaps it mirrors what we hope for in ourselves: attentiveness, cooperation, and an enduring memory that guides us through challenges. Observing the forest reminds us that intelligence is not only measured in speed or articulation, but also in connection, resilience, and the capacity to learn from experience. The forest's lessons are subtle, conveyed in the sway of leaves, the orientation of roots, and the patterns of fungal threads beneath the soil. Even in stillness, the forest is active. It measures rainfall, detects sunlight, senses threats, and communicates with neighbors. Its intelligence is quiet, deliberate, and immensely patient. In times of scarcity, it reallocates resources. In times of abundance, it nurtures new growth. The collective memory of trees ensures that no challenge is faced in isolation, and every response is informed by the experiences of the network as a whole. There is an artistry in this coordination, a rhythm to survival, a slow, meticulous intelligence that sustains life through centuries. Perhaps this is what it means to truly listen, to perceive not just what is visible, but what flows beneath the surface, through roots, fungi, and soil. The forest speaks in a language of pulses, chemicals, and patience, teaching attentiveness, humility, and care. Observing its intelligence, one begins to understand that life is rarely solitary. It thrives through connection, sharing, and awareness. And if we think that listening is enough, we might miss another layer beneath the soil, where the quietest conversations shape not only survival but the very essence of the forest's being. Roots intertwine, fungal threads pulse, and chemical signals flow in a continuous, living dialogue, carrying wisdom from one generation to the next. It is here, in these hidden passages, that the forest's intelligence becomes most apparent, a network of awareness that sustains life silently, gracefully, and endlessly. In an ancient forest, some trees tower above the rest, their branches stretching wide and their roots delving deep. These giants have stood for decades, even centuries, witnessing the changing seasons, enduring storms, and thriving through times of scarcity. Yet their influence extends far beyond their own trunks. Beneath the soil, they reach out to younger saplings, offering nourishment, guidance, and protection. These are the mother trees, silent caretakers of the next generation, sharing life in ways that remain largely hidden from human eyes. Mother trees form the heart of the forest's underground network. Through fungal connections, they distribute sugars, minerals, and water to seedlings that may be struggling to survive. A sapling shaded by taller trees or weakened by poor soil is quietly supported, receiving sustenance that ensures it can grow strong. It is a silent, generous act, a testament to the intelligence and compassion inherent in the forest. The older trees are both teachers and guardians, guiding young life with patience and care. Nutrient sharing is only part of the story. Mother trees also provide chemical signals that prepare saplings for challenges. When drought threatens, seedlings receive cues to conserve water or slow growth. When insects or pathogens attack, young trees are primed to produce defensive compounds, increasing their chance of survival. It is a subtle form of mentorship, a silent education that equips the next generation to endure the forest's challenges. Even in adversity, the forest demonstrates resilience through connection, not isolation. Imagine the fungal threads beneath the soil as threads of a grand tapestry, linking mother trees to their offspring. These threads are highways of life, carrying sugars, water, and chemical cues over distances that saplings could never reach alone. A single tree may connect to dozens of younger neighbors, distributing resources according to need. In this way, the forest ensures that life continues, that every generation has a chance to thrive, and that knowledge gained over decades is shared in the most practical and poetic way possible. Experiments have shown the tangible effects of these connections. Seedlings connected to older trees through fungal networks grow faster, survive longer, and show greater resistance to stress than those isolated from the network. Researchers have observed that even when a mother tree loses part of its canopy, it still prioritizes support for its young. The forest is not a hierarchy of dominance but a community of care, where age and experience are leveraged to sustain life. The emotional resonance of this nurturing is hard to ignore. Watching a sapling grow beneath the protection of a towering oak or beech, one might sense the quiet care that sustains it. The forest, often seen as indifferent or wild, reveals itself as deeply relational, a place where life is maintained through generosity, cooperation, and connection. Roots intertwine like hands holding one another, fungal threads act as bridges, and chemical signals are whispers of guidance. Every act is measured, deliberate, and profoundly effective. Parent trees also teach through observation, if such a word can describe it. Saplings growing near older trees adjust their growth patterns, leaf orientation, and root expansion to align with the rhythms of the canopy above. They learn where light is strongest, which soil is richest, and how to respond to the forest's subtle cues. Knowledge in this context is not cognitive in the human sense. It is behavioral, instinctive, encoded in chemical and electrical interactions, passed from one generation to the next through connection and guidance. Even in times of scarcity, the forest prioritizes the young. Mother trees may divert resources from their own needs to sustain a seedling, ensuring the future of the grove. This silent generosity is remarkable, illustrating a level of coordination and foresight that is rare in the human world. Each root, each fungal connection, each chemical pulse contributes to a living system where life is shared and sustained collectively. Consider the forest as a family, not in metaphor alone, but in function. The old teach the young, the strong support the weak, and survival depends on interdependence. Every tree is aware of its role, every connection purposeful. It is a system of mentorship, memory, and care, conducted without words but with remarkable effectiveness. Through this network, the forest preserves continuity, knowledge, and life itself. And so, every root, every thread, becomes a lifeline, a conversation, a story. The seedlings that emerge today carry not only the potential for growth, but also the guidance, resilience, and wisdom of the mother trees that sustain them. In this way, the forest becomes a living classroom, a sanctuary of silent teaching where life is nurtured across generations, and the legacy of the oldest trees lives on through the smallest of saplings. In walking through such a forest, one can feel this connection, sensing the invisible support beneath the soil, the quiet strength of mother trees, the careful guidance of fungal networks, and the intricate interplay of chemical and electrical signals all contribute to a sense of wonder, awe, and deep calm. The forest does not shout. It whispers, teaches, and sustains, offering a model of resilience and cooperation for those willing to notice. Beneath the tranquil surface of the forest, life is not always gentle. While mother trees nurture their young, not all interactions are purely cooperative. Roots weave through the soil in search of nutrients, water, and space. And in this subterranean world, conversations can carry both care and conflict. Trees are constantly negotiating their survival, balancing competition with cooperation, and sending signals that shape the lives of their neighbors. Competition emerges subtly. Some trees release chemicals into the soil to limit the growth of nearby competitors, a strategy known as allelopathy. These compounds can inhibit seed germination or slow root expansion, giving the sender an advantage in crowded environments. Yet even in these competitive moves, the forest maintains balance. The signals are measured, targeted, and rarely destructive enough to eliminate life completely. They are the negotiations of survival, a quiet reminder that conflict in nature is nuanced and essential. Cooperation, however, continues alongside rivalry. Trees connected through fungal networks can share resources selectively, supporting some neighbors while limiting others. Older trees may prioritize seedlings, ensuring the next generation survives, while adult trees compete minimally with one another for shared nutrients. In this way, the forest manages scarcity with subtle intelligence, allowing both competition and support to coexist. The soil becomes a forum, a space where strategy and communication dictate outcomes without haste or chaos. Imagine the forest as a society, with each tree aware of its role and influence. Some act as mentors, others as competitors, and all participate in the complex exchange of information. Electrical pulses, chemical signals, and fungal threads carry news of abundance, scarcity, or threats. Trees adjust growth, reinforce defenses, or expand roots in response. Every movement is a strategic decision, carried out in a rhythm dictated by seasons, soil, and the quiet intelligence of the ecosystem. Even conflict has its rhythm. When resources dwindle, roots compete more actively, but they rarely sever ties entirely. Trees still communicate, still share warnings, still participate in the network that ensures survival for the forest as a whole. In some ways, the forest teaches us that competition need not destroy cooperation, and that strength often lies in the balance between rivalry and connection. There is poetry in this balance, a choreography of life beneath the soil that is both fierce and harmonious. Observing these dynamics reveals a level of sophistication that is remarkable. Roots can detect chemicals released by competitors, adjusting growth direction to avoid unnecessary confrontation. At the same time, the same roots are capable of connecting with allies through fungal networks, exchanging nutrients and information to mutual benefit. The forest is not governed by dominance alone, but by intelligence, patience, and strategy. Each tree's actions are informed by both immediate needs and the subtle cues of its neighbors, creating a system that is both competitive and cooperative. Fungal networks play a critical role in mediating these interactions. By selectively sharing resources, fungi can reinforce alliances between trees or buffer the effects of competitive chemicals. They are the intermediaries, the diplomats of the underground world, ensuring that communication remains effective even in the presence of conflict. The network maintains stability, allowing trees to compete without destroying the intricate system of life beneath them. Metaphorically, the forest resembles a society of whispered negotiations. Each root, chemical signal, and fungal connection is a word in a language of strategy. Trees assess, respond, and adjust, making decisions that balance self-interest with the health of the collective. Even when a tree acts competitively, it does so within the constraints of a network that promotes survival for all. Conflict becomes a quiet rhythm rather than a violent struggle, a part of the forest's intelligence and harmony. Roots also act as mediators in these underground conversations. When one tree signals a threat, its neighbors may respond defensively, even if competition exists. Saplings learn from these exchanges, interpreting both nurturing and adversarial signals. They adapt to the complex social structure of the forest, understanding when to grow aggressively, when to conserve resources, and when to rely on the support of their elders. In this way, life beneath the soil is both a dance and a dialogue, continuously balancing tension and cooperation. Even in the darkest soil, where light cannot penetrate, life is active, aware, and strategic. Trees sense their surroundings, respond to threats, and communicate with neighbors. Competition and cooperation coexist, shaping the forest into a sophisticated, living network. Every pulse of energy, every chemical cue, every fungal connection contributes to a delicate equilibrium, ensuring that survival is shared, knowledge is passed on, and life continues in harmony. But communication is not just chemical. It is alive in vibrations too. Beneath the soil, electrical signals and subtle mechanical pulses transmit information faster than chemicals alone. The forest's conversations continue, layering complexity upon complexity, shaping every aspect of life above and below ground. The story of competition and cooperation is only one part of a larger symphony, one that hums quietly beneath our feet, waiting for those willing to listen. Beneath the forest floor, life pulses in ways both subtle and profound. Beyond chemical exchanges and fungal pathways, trees communicate through vibrations and electrical signals, transmitting messages with precision and intent. These signals ripple through roots, soil, and even the very structure of the tree itself, forming a network of awareness that is invisible yet deeply alive. The forest hums with this hidden language, a rhythm that resonates through the living earth. Electrical currents move along roots and trunks, carrying alerts and instructions faster than chemicals alone. When a tree is wounded, either by insects, storms, or human interference, an electrical pulse can travel through its tissues, signaling distant branches and neighboring trees to respond. Leaves stiffen, defensive compounds are produced, and roots adjust growth patterns, all guided by pulses that move silently, like a heartbeat through the living organism of the forest. These vibrations are not limited to electricity. Roots themselves can generate subtle mechanical signals, flexing and pressing against soil particles in ways that communicate presence or activity to neighbors. The forest floor becomes a tapestry of movement and sensation, where even the smallest tremor carries meaning. Saplings detect these signals, adjusting growth in response to the unseen rhythm beneath them. In this way, trees maintain a constant awareness of their surroundings, responding with precision and foresight. Consider the analogy of a heartbeat, steady and rhythmic, carrying life-giving energy throughout a body. The forest pulses in much the same way, each electrical signal and root vibration contributing to the vitality of the ecosystem. Information flows from tree to tree, guiding growth, defense, and survival. These pulses are quiet, almost imperceptible to human senses, yet they are essential to the orchestration of life beneath the canopy. Scientific studies have captured glimpses of this hidden world. Researchers have detected minute electrical currents traveling along roots, indicating communication between trees in response to stress. Vibrations caused by wind, rain, or root activity can also transmit information across short distances, subtly influencing growth and behavior. These discoveries reveal a layer of intelligence that is both delicate and powerful, a network of signals that reinforces the forest's resilience and cohesion. Even the smallest interactions matter. A sapling touching the root of a neighboring tree may receive electrical cues that guide its orientation or resource allocation. A tree sensing nearby root activity can adjust nutrient absorption, redirect growth, or alter chemical signaling. Vibrations and currents become a language of immediacy, complementing the slower chemical and fungal messages. The forest communicates on multiple timescales, each layer reinforcing the other, forming a deeply integrated system of awareness. Metaphorically, the forest could be seen as a symphony. Electrical currents are the steady pulse of percussion, root vibrations the soft hum of strings, and chemical signals the gentle melody of woodwinds. Together, they create a performance that is continuous, intricate, and infinitely nuanced. Every tree participates, every root responds, and the forest thrives through this quiet orchestration of energy and information. The elegance of this system is reflected in its adaptability. When one part of the forest is stressed, vibrations and electrical pulses allow distant trees to anticipate challenges, activating defenses or conserving resources. Signals flow in multiple directions, creating a feedback loop of awareness that sustains the entire community. The forest is alive not just in appearance but in subtle electrical and mechanical rhythms, a living organism that senses, responds, and communicates continuously. Even in silence, the forest speaks. The hum of electrical currents, the gentle tremors of roots, and the vibrations transmitted through soil compose a hidden dialogue that shapes life in profound ways. Trees respond to one another, synchronize growth, and protect vulnerable neighbors. It is a conversation without words, a pulse without sound, yet it is as vital as sunlight or rain. The forest's intelligence is encoded in these rhythms, waiting for those who know how to observe and feel. Poetically, one might imagine standing on the forest floor, feeling the subtle thrum beneath your feet. Each step connects you to a network of awareness. Each breath aligns with the pulse of life hidden below. The forest is alive in a way that transcends sight and sound, communicating through vibrations that link all living organisms into a cohesive, responsive system. Even the smallest signal contributes to the forest's resilience and continuity. And these hidden conversations shape entire ecosystems. They influence which trees survive, how saplings grow, and how the forest responds to stress, storms, or seasonal change. Vibrations and electrical currents are not merely signals. They are threads in the tapestry of life, connecting roots, fungi, and leaves into a single intelligent network. The forest's pulse guides its growth, coordinates its defenses, and maintains the balance that allows life to flourish quietly, patiently, and gracefully. Walking through a forest, you may feel as though the trees are simply standing still, tall and silent. Yet beneath your feet, in the network of roots, fungi, and subtle pulses, they are speaking a language of connection, patience, and resilience. There is much for us to learn from these quiet teachers. Lessons in cooperation, awareness, and the beauty of interdependence that extend far beyond the forest floor. Trees demonstrate that survival is rarely solitary. Each root interacts with neighbors, each branch responds to sunlight shared among the canopy, and each leaf reacts to subtle shifts in the environment. Life thrives through connection, not isolation. The forest teaches that strength lies in networks, that wisdom emerges from shared experience, and that care for others ensures the endurance of the whole. In this sense, trees embody a philosophy both simple and profound. To endure, one must participate in the life around them. Consider the patience of a forest. Growth is measured not in days but decades. Trees respond to change gradually, adjusting their leaves, roots, and chemical signals according to subtle cues. Even when threatened by drought, pests, or storms, they do not panic. Instead, they adapt, conserve, and coordinate, demonstrating an intelligence that is quiet yet powerful. Humans, too, might benefit from such patience, slowing down, observing carefully, and responding thoughtfully to challenges rather than rushing toward solutions. Cooperation is another enduring lesson. Through fungal networks, trees share nutrients and information, supporting neighbors in need and strengthening the resilience of the community. Even in competitive moments, the forest maintains balance, ensuring that no single organism jeopardizes the network. There is an elegance in this system, a wisdom in balancing self-interest with care for others. By observing these patterns, we can reflect on our own communities, noticing how mutual support and collaboration strengthen our shared existence. The forest also teaches attentiveness. A tree senses changes in soil moisture, detects subtle chemical cues, and adjusts its growth accordingly. It listens constantly, responding to threats, opportunities, and signals from neighbors. In doing so, it models a form of awareness we can emulate: slow observation, careful listening, and the ability to respond with intention. To walk among trees is to practice mindfulness, feeling the subtle rhythms of life that are easy to overlook but essential to survival. Perhaps most remarkably, forests demonstrate resilience. They carry memories of droughts, fires, and storms, encoded in chemical signals, fungal networks, and growth patterns. Each generation of trees learns from the last, adapting strategies to face challenges that lie ahead. Life persists not by resisting change but by responding wisely and flexibly. The forest reminds us that resilience is cultivated through connection, observation, and adaptability rather than through force or haste. Even the smallest sapling participates in this wisdom. By connecting to older trees, adjusting growth in response to neighbors, and responding to chemical and electrical signals, it learns to thrive in a complex world. Growth and survival are guided not by instinct alone, but by communication and cooperation, by the unseen conversations happening beneath the soil. There is a lesson here in humility. Even the youngest, smallest life forms can benefit from guidance and support, and even the strongest flourish when connected to a network of care. To engage with these lessons, we must approach the forest with quiet presence. Feel the soil beneath your feet, notice the texture of roots and leaves, and imagine the invisible currents flowing between trees. Breathe slowly, aligning yourself with the rhythm of life around you. Sense the fungal threads linking roots, the chemical signals drifting through soil, and the electrical pulses threading through trunks. In this practice, the forest becomes a teacher, offering insights into patience, connection, and harmony. Philosophically, the forest invites reflection. It shows that life is rarely linear or solitary, that intelligence is not only measured in thought but in responsiveness, adaptation, and care. Trees act without haste, listen without ears, and share without expectation. Observing these patterns can inspire humans to cultivate patience, resilience, and mindfulness in our own lives. The forest becomes a mirror, reflecting the interconnectedness of all life and the subtle power of silent communication. Slowly, imagine placing your hand on the soil, feeling the warmth of roots and the gentle pulse of life beneath. Sense the care that older trees extend to younger ones, the cooperation between neighbors, and the constant flow of energy and information. In this awareness, we find a meditation on life itself, the value of connection, the elegance of shared survival, and the quiet power of attentiveness. Breathing with the forest, we absorb lessons of resilience, patience, and care that are both practical and profound. And as we prepare to leave this hidden world, let's reflect on its quiet magic, the pulses, the signals, and the threads of life that make the forest more than a collection of trees. Each interaction beneath the soil, each vibration, chemical signal, or fungal link, contributes to a living network of intelligence and care. By observing and attuning ourselves to these patterns, we carry a sense of wonder, mindfulness, and respect into the world beyond the forest. Imagine stepping into a forest at dawn, the air cool and still, and the first rays of light filtering through leaves like golden whispers. The world above ground may appear silent, yet beneath your feet, a subtle chorus resonates. Roots, fungi, and soil carry messages, vibrations, and pulses that have traveled unseen for centuries. If we pause, quiet our minds, and tune our senses, the forest begins to speak to us in its own gentle language. Walking slowly, you notice the textures of bark, the subtle sway of branches, and the delicate geometry of leaves. Each detail is a note in the forest symphony, a part of a dialogue that stretches beyond what the eye can see. Roots pulse beneath the soil, fungi hum with activity, and chemical signals drift silently, carrying lessons of survival, cooperation, and adaptation. These whispers are constant, flowing through the forest even when human eyes are unaware. There is a stillness here that invites mindfulness. To hear the forest's whispers, we do not need to understand them with words or intellect. We listen with awareness, attuning ourselves to subtle patterns. A leaf trembling in the breeze, the soft hum of roots pressing against soil, or the faint shimmer of light moving across the canopy. In these moments, the forest becomes a guide, teaching patience, attentiveness, and the beauty of connection. A sense of awe emerges as we realize the scale and complexity of these underground conversations. A single tree interacts with countless neighbors, sending chemical cues, electrical pulses, and nutrient transfers across vast networks. Saplings grow under the care of elders, and older trees anticipate threats before they arrive. Every root, every fungal thread, every chemical signal is a part of this living, breathing web of awareness. It is an intelligence that is subtle, enduring, and profoundly humbling. Mindful observation deepens our connection. Watch how moss clings to a shaded trunk, how roots emerge from the soil in intricate patterns, or how fallen leaves decompose and return nutrients to the earth. Each interaction, each movement, is part of the forest's hidden narrative. By noticing these details, we participate in the forest story, acknowledging the quiet conversations that sustain life beneath our feet. The whispers are everywhere, carried in texture, color, rhythm, and pulse. There is also a personal resonance in these observations. The forest mirrors our own needs for connection, care, and understanding. Just as trees rely on one another for survival, we too flourish when we participate in supportive networks, listen carefully, and respond with intention. The lessons of the forest are not only ecological, they are philosophical, guiding us to approach life with patience, mindfulness, and awareness of our place within the larger web of existence. Poetic imagery becomes a bridge between observation and reflection. Picture a sapling stretching its first leaves toward the light, nourished by the roots of its elders. Imagine electrical pulses moving through the soil, chemical whispers traveling across fungal threads, and nutrients flowing from tree to tree like quiet acts of generosity. Each pulse and exchange is a story, a lesson in resilience, cooperation, and interdependence. By tuning into these whispers, we feel connected not only to the forest but to the natural rhythms that shape life itself. In this quiet communion, the forest invites us to slow down. Take a deep breath, noticing the subtle sense of earth, moss, and leaves. Feel the texture of bark beneath your fingertips, sense the hum of life in the soil, and imagine the invisible conversations threading through the forest. Each step, each breath, each moment of awareness strengthens your connection to this living network. The forest whispers not in words, but in the rhythm of life itself, a language of care, presence, and subtle intelligence. As dusk approaches, the forest's whispers continue, carrying the day's experiences into the soil, sharing lessons with the next day, the next season, and the next generation of trees. The network never sleeps. It pulses with life, quietly shaping ecosystems, growth, and survival. By walking among the trees with attentiveness and awe, we become part of this ongoing dialogue, learning to listen, respond, and carry a sense of wonder back into our own lives. And so, as night falls and we prepare to leave the forest, its whispers linger. We feel a subtle connection to roots, fungi, and the pulses that carry life beneath the soil. The forest teaches that silence is never empty, that awareness is a form of participation, and that life thrives through care, connection, and attentiveness. If we carry these lessons with us, we bring a little of the forest's quiet wisdom into our world, feeling a sense of calm, wonder, and belonging. As we step back from the forest, leaving the tangled roots, pulsing fungi, and whispering soil behind, a sense of quiet wonder remains. The forest has shared its secrets with us, not through words, but through presence, rhythm, and connection. We have walked among sentinels that communicate silently, witnessed the care of mother trees, felt the pulse of electrical currents beneath the soil, and glimpsed the intricate network that sustains life in ways we are only beginning to understand. The trees teach us that life is more than what we see above ground. Every leaf, branch, and trunk is connected to an unseen world beneath the soil. Fungal threads carry messages, chemical signals drift like whispers, and roots vibrate with information. Each interaction shapes the forest, every pulse ensures survival, and every signal contributes to a living community that has persisted for millennia. This hidden network reminds us that the earth is alive in ways we often overlook, and that life thrives through connection, cooperation, and quiet attention. We may not notice these subtle conversations in our daily lives, yet they continue, constant and patient. The forest remembers, learns, and adapts, teaching resilience through experience. Saplings thrive under the guidance of elders, threats are anticipated and shared, and resources flow in harmony across generations. Nature's intelligence is not in haste or noise, but in rhythm, persistence, and attentive care. The forest embodies a patience and wisdom that humbles us, reminding us to slow down, observe, and participate consciously in the world around us. If tonight you feel a little closer to the secret lives of trees, take a deep breath and feel it in your body. The pulse of life beneath your feet, the gentle hum of connection threading through the soil, the whispers of the forest reaching even into your own awareness. Imagine each root, each fungal connection, each subtle vibration carrying life's knowledge from one generation to the next. Even in stillness, the forest continues to communicate, to nurture, and to sustain. As you lie down, allow the rhythm of the forest to flow through you. Visualize the trees swaying gently in a soft wind, their leaves shimmering with the day's light, their roots extending deep into the earth like veins. Feel the interconnected web of life beneath the soil, humming with electrical pulses and chemical messages. Imagine the mother trees watching over saplings, the saplings responding with quiet determination, and the entire forest breathing as one living organism. In this meditation, you are part of the network, attuning yourself to its rhythm, its patience, and its quiet intelligence. The forest's whispers carry lessons we can bring into our lives. We learn patience, understanding, and the power of connection. We remember that care and cooperation matter, that listening is a form of intelligence, and that subtle action can shape life as profoundly as the most visible efforts. The trees remind us that survival and thriving come not from isolation, but from participating in a community, from observing carefully, and from responding with intention and mindfulness. Before we drift fully into rest, take a moment to reflect on what the forest has shared with you tonight. Imagine walking among ancient trees, feeling the soft pulse of life beneath your feet, sensing the silent conversations flowing through roots and fungi, and noticing the quiet generosity of the natural world. Let that sense of wonder fill your mind, allowing it to drift like a leaf on a gentle stream, softening thought and bringing calm. And if you feel inspired, share a piece of this moment with others. Leave a comment sharing where you are listening, letting us know the place that holds this quiet connection for you. Consider subscribing for more journeys into the hidden wonders of our world, where curiosity meets calm and science becomes a doorway to wonder. Your participation continues the conversation, connecting us in small but meaningful ways, just as the forest connects its own life through silent dialogue beneath the soil. Now, let your awareness soften and sink. Feel your body becoming still, your breath aligning with the quiet pulse of life that surrounds you. Imagine roots extending from your own body into the earth, touching the networks beneath the forest floor. Feel the gentle hum of electrical pulses, the slow drift of chemical whispers, and the patient wisdom of trees guiding you into rest. Every beat, every vibration, every invisible thread carries you deeper into calm, into wonder, and into sleep. The forest continues its conversation even as you drift away. It will pulse, whisper, and nurture long after our eyes close, reminding us that life is alive in countless invisible ways. And as you settle into your rest tonight, remember that connection, patience, and quiet attention are not just lessons from the forest. They are ways to move gently through your own life. Allow yourself to drift like a root through the soil, sinking into the quiet magic beneath your feet, and know that you are part of a world that is alive, aware, and infinitely wondrous. Good night.